There is a quiet, almost sacred pause that happens before real transformation begins. It's the heavy stillness when everything seems to fall apart, when life feels unbearable and uncertain. Yet, beneath the chaos, something ancient begins to awaken. The Stoics understood this moment deeply. They knew that before the mind reaches clarity, it must first endure confusion, pain, and isolation. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties reveal what men truly are." What you face before your breakthrough isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the universe showing you how close you are to becoming the person you are meant to be. Sign 1. Everything falls apart. Yet you stop complaining. When you approach a breakthrough, life doesn't comfort you. It challenges you. It takes away everything that keeps you small. The people who drain your spirit fade away. The illusions you clung to dissolve. The plans you trusted fall to pieces. To the ordinary mind, this feels like loss. But to one who understands the rhythm of growth, it's transformation. This is the stage where you begin to rise above the noise. You stop asking the world for peace and start creating it from within. Seneca wrote, "No man is more miserable than the one who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. What feels like chaos is really your old self burning away, making room for strength, awareness, and discipline. The more you evolve, the more life will test you. It will demand proof that your calm is real, proof that your purpose cannot be shaken. You may lose friends, comfort, or security, but if you remain steady, if you stay grounded without breaking, that's when you'll know you're close. The world trembles most violently just before it opens the door. Sign 2. You lose interest in proving yourself. This is one of the most subtle yet powerful signs that you're nearing a breakthrough. The quiet loss of interest in proving your worth. At first, it feels unsettling. You no longer care to explain yourself, justify your silence, or display your progress. You simply observe. Something inside shifts from craving to be understood to realizing that you don't need to be. This isn't arrogance. It's awakening. It's seeing clearly that most people are limited by their own fears and projections. And so, you stop wasting your breath trying to convince anyone of your truth. You stop performing. You slow down. You no longer chase applause. You begin to notice how much of your energy was once spent maintaining an image that never truly existed. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the essence of this stage. You stop talking about change and start embodying it. You no longer need to prove strength because you've already endured enough to know it's there. You no longer crave validation because you've made peace with walking alone. When you reach this level of inner command, people will sense it. Your energy becomes calm but powerful, heavy in silence yet full of presence. It unsettles those still chasing attention, but draws in those who recognize real strength. You move slower but with purpose. You speak less, but your words resonate. When you enter a room, your stillness speaks louder than any performance. This is what the Stoics called apatheia, not indifference, but freedom from emotional enslavement. You still feel deeply, but your feelings no longer rule you. You still care, but you no longer beg to be cared for. You become like a mountain, unmoving, unbothered, yet full of quiet power beneath the surface. And that's when your breakthrough arrives, not with noise or celebration, but in calm certainty. It comes when you finally realize you need no one's permission to become who you truly are. Epictetus wrote, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's the cost of evolution, to let go of how the world sees you long enough to see yourself clearly. So when your silence becomes louder than your words and your peace stronger than approval, remember, you've already crossed the threshold. The breakthrough isn't ahead, it's here. Sign 3. Everything breaks before it rebuilds. Standing at the edge of transformation feels brittle. Life seems to collapse all at once. People drift away, opportunities vanish, and the stability you relied on disappears. It feels as if the universe has turned against you. But in truth, this is not destruction, it's refinement. The Stoics knew this process well. Seneca wrote, Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body. What looks like chaos is simply the sculptor's hand, carving away everything that doesn't belong to the next version of you. It's the darkness before dawn, when the night feels endless, yet light is already forming beyond sight. The final stage, before a breakthrough, is always disorder. It's when life tests what parts of your old self still remain, your fears, attachments, doubts. It's the battlefield where the old identity dies and the new one is born. The Stoics called this inner power prohairesis, the freedom to choose your response no matter the circumstance. In this fire, you discover whether your discipline is real or just an act. When life falls apart, the untrained mind panics. It clings to comfort and curses fate. But the awakened mind, forged by Stoic practice, sees the collapse as sacred. It understands that nothing real can be destroyed. Only illusions burn. And what remains after the fire? That's what's true, Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle you meet on this path isn't blocking your progress. It is your progress. The frustration, the isolation, the uncertainty, these are punishments. They're purification. The universe is testing your capacity to hold what you've been asking for. It's as if life whispers, "Show me you can endure even when everything disappears." That's why your world may feel as though it's collapsing. It's not the world that's breaking. It's the version of you that cannot continue forward. The part that sought validation, the part that needed control, the part that feared judgment. All of that must dissolve before you rise. So when everything seems to work against you, when your strength feels drained and your purpose dim, understand that this is the threshold. No one ascends to a higher level without releasing what no longer belongs there. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom isn't found in calm seas, but in remaining still within the storm. That's what this phase teaches. How to be unmoved when the world trembles. So, if your life feels like it's falling apart, if you sense everything collapsing, take a breath. This is not your ending, it's your cleansing. The universe doesn't destroy the unworthy, it refines the ready. Once you stop resisting the storm, you'll see it clearly for what it is, not chaos, but construction. The breaking you hear is in punishment. It's the sound of your old limits shattering. Sign 4. The silence grows louder, and you finally listen to it. One of the most overlooked signs of transformation is silence. Not the simple absence of sound, but the deep, unsettling quiet that begins to surround your life. Friends grow distant. The noise you once chased becomes hollow. The distractions fade, and you find yourself face to face with your own mind. Most people run from this silence because it feels like loneliness. But to the Stoic, it's sacred. The very ground where transformation takes root. Epictetus taught, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. It means being willing to walk alone, to detach from the chatter long enough to hear your inner voice again. This silence isn't emptiness, it's alignment. It's life removing every distraction that competes for your attention, leaving only truth. When the world goes quiet, your emotions grow louder. Doubt whispers, fear tempts, old wounds resurface. The silence becomes a mirror, showing you everything you've avoided. But this isn't cruelty, it's preparation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The Stoics believe that a person who learns to master stillness becomes unshakable, because his peace no longer depends on circumstance, but on his inner command. At this stage, your energy shifts. You no longer crave attention, you withdraw from it. You prefer solitude to noise, truth to comfort, progress to pleasure. You realize that noise was never power. Real power is the ability to remain calm when others lose control, the strength to listen when provoked, to observe when attacked, to understand when misunderstood. This silence isn't punishment for your isolation. It's the reward for your revolution. As your mind strengthens, it needs less stimulation. You start seeing that most conversations are distractions, most opinions irrelevant, and most conflicts illusions. You stop explaining yourself, not because you have nothing to say, but because your peace speaks louder than defense. Seneca once said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The man who is constantly distracted never truly arrives in his own life. But when you let silence take root, you arrive fully present, aware, powerful. You begin to see through the noise, realizing that most people are simply running from themselves. You, however, have stopped running. This silence before transformation is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Just as a seed must descend into darkness before breaking through the soil, you too must embrace solitude, stillness, and uncertainty. That's where your roots deepen. And then something shifts. What once felt empty begins to feel sacred. What once felt lonely becomes empowering. You start to understand what the Stoics meant by a path there. Mastery over destructive emotion. You no longer need the world to affirm your worth, because you feel it silently within. So, if you find yourself surrounded by silence, if the world seems distant and cold, don't fight it. Don't rush to fill the emptiness. Sit with it. Listen to it, because that silence and the absence of life, it's life speaking in its purest form. It's the moment before everything changes. And when you rise from it, you won't just be stronger. You'll be untouchable, not because you conquered the world, but because you finally conquered yourself. When you reach this point, don't resist the silence. Don't flee from the discomfort. This is where transformation hides. The Stoics knew the moment you cease being ruled by emotion, the world ceases to rule you. So when everything feels heavy, when the noise fades and only your breath remains, remember, you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. If this message resonates with you, join our community for deeper insights and exclusive content. Link in the description. Subscribe to Stoic Verse for more wisdom to guide your journey toward strength, stillness, and self-mastery. When you reach this level of awareness, when you stop living for approval and start living from truth, something within you changes forever. You no longer chase validation. You embody peace. You no longer seek to be seen. You become undeniable. This is the path of discipline, of self-mastery, of inner freedom, the path of the Stoic soul. If these words spoke to you, it means your awakening has already begun. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay unshakable. This is Paradox of Desire, where we turn pain into power, weakness into wisdom, and desire into discipline. Subscribe, share, and keep walking with us from chaos toward clarity. Asterisk.